This is really weird. I thought this was gonna be really easy. Hi guys! This is my very first video on my channel. First off, I just want to say thank you for clicking on this video. I wanted to do it on something that is kind of personal to me. I guess I'll just begin with this story. So I've always had pretty clear skin my whole life. I feel like we all have things that we're confident about for ourselves, and for me it was my skin. I didn't always think I was like the prettiest girl or anything like that, but I always knew that I could kind of be confident in my skin because it was always very clear and had a nice texture, and it was never really something that I had to go out of my way to take care of. But I noticed like I would start having more pop-up breakouts. I would have them before, don't get me wrong, but they would last for maybe a couple of days. I was very lucky and blessed in that way that I just didn't really have to worry about my skin. A lot of my friends were into skincare, and I was like, you know, let me give this a go. And I think my skin was fine for a while. And then I started to notice around the summer that I would get breakouts that were a little different than what I had usually experienced. They were just a lot more painful, which is probably the most annoying part about having acne. Is not only do you have to deal with these ugly blemishes on your face, you have to deal with the fact that they actually hurt. And it wasn't until I want to say late July that I noticed that there was a problem. I'm still trying to figure out why I think my skin started breaking out this way. I don't know if it was the heat of the summer. I do believe a lot of it has to do with the fact that I was not applying sunscreen to my face. A lot of the times in the summer, I was not wearing foundation. All the SPF that was in my foundation, gone. And I was going to the beach with no sunscreen, laying out for hours. And I know this sounds silly, but it was really something that I did. I'm pretty sure that not wearing sunscreen has really damaged my skin. Around August, my skin was just getting worse. I started to recognize too that a lot of my acne was due to stress. Work was a huge stress for me because at the end of the summer I was working a lot more than usual, and I worked at a restaurant. It's not always the cleanest environment to work in. You're constantly like doing something, so that stress is automatically taking a toll on your skin. I can't even count how many hours I've spent on YouTube looking for ways to fix my acne. We've all seen the clickbaits that are like, I cleared my acne in 1 week. As much as I would like to believe that's true, it's impossible. Sure, if you have a couple breakouts, they are something that you could treat and possibly get rid of in a week, but when it comes to serious acne, it's a whole different monster. After doing a lot of research, I heard about this brand called acne.org, which I'm sure you guys have heard about. Some of you haven't heard about it. Basically what it is an acne regimen. It starts with a cleanser, and then it's followed by a treatment which is called benzoyl peroxide. After that, it comes with a moisturizer, and then there are some other purchases you can make. I purchased the jojoba oil on their website. I have drier skin to begin with. They say that if you do have dry skin, a tip would be to mix the moisturizer with the oil. I was excited about acne.org because I was like, okay, I don't need to actually visit a dermatologist for this. I can order this myself. So immediately I hopped online and I put everything in my cart, and everything totaled to about $60 for everything with, you know, shipping. Just because I bought the whole regimen at once, it did add up. It does come with a piece of paper that's sort of like a basic guideline of how to use each of the products. It just makes it a lot easier when you're first getting started. Starting on October 3rd, which was a Friday night, I've been taking pictures of my skin just so that I could see, you know, how my skin is progressing. First night of using it, I'll insert the picture here of what my skin looked like, which is basically my starting picture. Obviously, my skin wasn't going to change after one night of using the product, so I use these pictures as my before pictures. My skin was just really, it was bad. This was the most painful part of my acne journey. I was pretty much stuck with these terrible bumps on my face that were very painful to try to cover up with concealer and foundation. So after the first week, I'll insert the picture here, of how my skin started to look. I could already tell that my skin was starting to heal up a little bit, which was pretty encouraging to see results after just 1 week. Some of my pimples were starting to decrease in size, and a lot of the scars were starting to lose its color. After 2 weeks, my skin was looking really good in these pictures. But a lot of that I do think has to do with lighting. These are a little bit misleading, but you can still tell that I do have scarring and still some of the same stubborn pimples on my face. My next pictures, now we're at October 27th. My skin here, it started to react again. So while using the regimen, I would still get pimples that would come up, unfortunately. And this was kind of a bad week for me. At this point, I was like, am I taking steps backwards? Is this really working? And I started to feel kind of hopeless. That leads me to my last pictures that I've taken. There are a lot of red marks on my face, and it almost looks as if nothing really changed in my acne, but I can definitely say for a fact that it has, because the sizes of each of my pimples has gone down. A lot of my pimples were just turning into scars. When you get a closer look at my skin, you can tell they're no longer active pimples. It's quite smooth once I go over my skin. Another thing I've noticed about acne.org is that it turns a lot of your pimples into whiteheads, which is a good thing because whiteheads are the only kind of pimple that is healthy to pop. But if your pimple's red, do not pop it because it's not ready. Something that I feel is important to share with you guys is that if you are having these issues and you're confused and you don't really know what to do or how to take care of your skin, I recommend seeing a dermatologist 100%. So, opinions, things that I like about acne.org. I can tell that my skin is getting healthier. I can feel it. I've definitely noticed that my skin is not in pain anymore. I don't have those really big and painful pimples coming in. If I do, they're a lot smaller and they usually come in as whiteheads, so they're easier to pop. I also like, what it's doing for my skin. Overall, it is doing what it's promising to do. Now, things that I don't like, the product itself can be an inconvenience. And I mean that because it is time consuming. You have to give yourself time in between each of the steps of the regimen. I wake up really early for school every morning. I have to wake up even earlier just to do my face routine, and then I still don't even have time to put on like makeup or do my hair or anything because I'm usually just rushing out the door. If you're thinking about purchasing acne.org, you have to be willing to put the time into it every day and every night. Another con would be the way that my skin got used to acne.org. Around the second week, once I started using acne.org, my skin became so dry. Not just dry in a way that you put lotion on it and it feels better. The benzoyl peroxide started to totally change the texture of my skin. My skin started to literally crack because of how dry it was. It hurt to smile, it felt uncomfortable. If you're going to put on a face mask and it's one of those drying face masks, like a mud mask or something, once they dry to your skin, it becomes so dry and that you can barely move your face. That's how my skin felt. It was a time where I was almost going through an identity crisis because I was just like, I felt so terrible about the way that I looked and the way that I felt. But I can say now, from using it for over a month, it does not stay that way. I still have dry skin, but my skin is so much better than it used to be, and I do firmly believe that using the jojoba oil with the moisturizer has helped that. Another con that I can think of is when you first start the regimen, the paper tells you to start with less benzoyl peroxide and then work your way up to the normal amount. So it didn't burn at first when I used it. As soon as I went through the first week and I started to up the amount that I was putting on my face, I felt it. It burned really bad. And it actually burned even more after I let it dry and went back in with the moisturizer. I got through it. You only feel the burning for about 5 minutes. And then it goes away. It's nothing like extreme, and it didn't like swell up my face or anything, but it was just kind of uncomfortable. Even though there are cons, the product is doing what it's saying that it's doing, which I think overrides each of the cons that I've mentioned. Time, you know, discomfort, dry skin, those are all kind of things that you have to be willing to go through to get the results that you want. Overall, I would recommend acne.org to anybody who's struggling with acne. I mean, overall, it is figuring out what works for your skin. What works for my skin might not work for your skin or your friend's skin. I just feel like it's important to share with you guys that this whole experience has humbled me greatly. It's made me have to realize, you know, I have a decision. I can sit here and be miserable because my skin doesn't look as nice as I'd like it to, or I can embrace the fact that my acne doesn't define who I am as a person, and I can still go out and have fun with my friends. Once I made that decision, it really did start to turn around not only my mentality of the situation, but it actually started to help my skin even more. I wasn't as stressed about it. I wasn't as anxious because I was able to realize that even if my skin didn't look the exact way I wanted it to, that wouldn't change, you know, the friends that I have in my life, or the things that I like to do, or my grades in school, or my relationship with my family. It really doesn't change all of the things that are important to you in your life. So like I said, it's just making sure that you have a really good mentality and understanding that there's a lot more than just what's on the surface, and that it is just a phase. You can get through it. No matter what, you are still beautiful. Thank you so much for watching this video. It really does mean a lot to me. I would like to make more videos in the future. I hope that some of this information has helped you or given you insight on what you'd like to do for your skin, or has even just motivated you to have a better outlook on yourself. And if you have any questions about anything, feel free to ask. I will gladly answer them. Thank you for watching.